the value in networking?
I like in-person dealing more now with the shows.
There was a lot of foul activity going on, and no one's talking about it.
I feel like I see less patience in the hobby today. And I want to get your thoughts on it. When you hear of the large dollar amounts now around PMGs, what do you think?
What it takes for someone to spend that much money on any card.
Fanatics did something tonight I had never heard about. They have a lottery.
We got you on the line.
Oh my goodness, we're both on the line.
I don't think that the fact that they did Be Friends and Jackass is going to have any impact on how they treat sports cards.
So I asked you, FD, since we're rolling with FD.
Let's roll, man. What's up? You got to let the people know who you're rolling with, man.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with FD.
What's up, everybody? How we doing? August 8th, Monday. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a very good conversation. Happy to have our guest here today. Our guest is Raphael, a.k.a. Prizm Gawd. I'm going to bring him in. How you doing, sir? What's going on?
Nothing, man. It's Monday. Let's go.
Monday. Yeah.
Let's go.
Monday.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm on here.
Good to have you. Good to have you here. Let's start with walk through kind of your background. You know, tell people about yourself. I know people already know who you are, but just for the purposes of our conversation today, let people know more about yourself. How did you get involved in cards? What were you doing before cards? How did you get interested in the hobby? All that.
I got you. So I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Born and raised in a playground where I spent most of my days. So basically, I'm from Chicago. I was doing cards when I was younger, probably in my early teenage years. Got to high school, met my boy Jesse. Rest in peace, my boy Jesse, one of my big friends who got me back in the hobby. But literally, we met through the card industry. Like we were in high school, we were bringing cards to school, and sometimes we'd go to the grocery store across the street and buy cards and then come over and do trades. So we just to kind of hang out. We kind of met from there. I met my best friends through cards in high school. And I was in Chicago. We went to Luther South High School, which is on 87th and Kedzie. It's no longer there anymore. But basically, that's how I kind of got in the card industry back then. But I couldn't afford to really do much. That was the first time I ever went to a card shop. That was the first time I actually kind of like got a chance. I think I asked my mom to take me to a national, or it used to be the Chicago Sun-Times show out there in Rosemont. It might not even been a national. It might have just been like the Chicago Sun-Times show. I don't necessarily think it was the Nationals, but it was the biggest show I've ever had been to at the time. So it was just fun. Growing up back then, I mean, like I said, I couldn't afford a whole lot. I was into sneakers. I was into a lot of stuff. And my mom kind of basically, if I wanted to get something, she'd be like, I'll pay half. You got to come up with the other half. I'm like, at 14 years old, you're like, well, how am I going to come up with the other half? I'm going to figure this out. So I guess at an early age, I kind of became a critical thinker, of course. So fast forward a little bit, I went to college. My boy was kind of like, man, need to get back in the cards. Same guy, Jesse. You need to get back in the cards. You say you need to buy Giannis. I'm like, man, I don't know who this Giannis kid is, but whatever. I ended up buying who I wanted, which was Rudy Gobert. And I'm a Bulls fan, so basically I was buying Meritic at the time. Nikola Mirotic, so I was buying him. I liked him, so that's what I was buying. But I should have followed what he told me to do. I would have been a whole lot better if I would have bought Giannis. But that's kind of how I kind of got into the industry. I got back in like 2017, and that was probably the first time I realized that you can make money in the hobby. I got in a little bit before then because I was working a corporate job at the time at T-Mobile. So I was working at T-Mobile. So all right, let me backpedal a little bit. I'm sorry. So I moved to Atlanta in 2010. Okay. I was doing music production at the time. I was making beats for like Lil Scrappy, Crime Mob, Diamond. I did a record with Mano back in the day on his first album. So I was producing records back then. And like in Chicago, I had worked with a little bit of everybody. And that was really like back in the day, like 2010, like right before I moved out here. So I initially moved to Atlanta to do music. And end up, of course, it's a lot of people. It's a saturated industry, and it's really easy to kind of swallow it up. Even if you do make money, it's like, you know, what have you done lately? And I kind of gave up a little bit on that dream. I got kind of burnt out, honestly. It was just I was doing a lot of work at the time, but I ended up kind of getting into cards through my job. I was working at a job, and my boy was kind of like, "You should get back into cards again." And that was like 2017. So I started kind of going to shows at that time.
Okay.
So through going to shows at that time, I was like trying to figure out, like, you know, just try to just really just enjoy it and just try to figure out things. So in 2017, I started buying Prizm, and I just started kind of like, I was infatuated with Prizm Gawd. So I think it's how I ended up becoming Prizm Gawd, because I was thinking to myself, like, ain't nobody got more Prizm Gawds as me. So I got to be Prizm Gawd. Okay. You know, at the time, I really didn't understand the structure of how Prizm worked, but it was just like, at the time, I knew I loved Prizm Gawds. And like kids told me to build that, you know, that platform. And that's basically what happened. And then I learned in 2018, like a year later, that you could actually make money in this industry and actually make it a career. I never thought that I would do a card show, but I mean, you know, that was kind of something that happened later on where, you know, I just realized it was an opportunity, and I felt like, you know, I just wanted to take advantage of that opportunity and put it out there.
You know, it's interesting in your story, man, because 2002, I wanted to work in music. I wanted to produce music. I went to school and then started looking for stuff in New York. And it's interesting to hear that story, you know, because I was telling some people in my family this the other day, and they were looking at me with their mouth open. Like, I didn't know you wanted to do that. Like, yeah, once upon a time.
Man.
That's definitely what I wanted to do. Seriously. So that's why now, even on the channel, we mess around with music.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we make beats for stuff. I bring my son in. We start doing all the different kind of stuff because it's a part of being creative.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I think that's why I kind of get my creative energy from. I mean, I guess it is coming from the music world, because I feel like even back then doing music, I was really creative. I would push the envelope on different sounds and things that I was trying to do. Like, one of my favorite producers is Timbaland back in the day. That was one of my favorite guys. Timbaland, growing up, that was the sound I loved. It was simple. It was melodic. You know, it had good energy. So I kind of went off of that, and then I just kind of grew as an artist. And then, again, I got into the card industry. And then, of course, that creative energy started flowing again once I realized, again, you know, I didn't do the show to make money. I didn't get into the card industry initially to make money, but once I realized it was opportunity, you know, it just became really interesting to me. Like, how can you do this? And even I've had conversations with some of the most successful people in this industry, and they talk about how well they do, and I'm just like, man, that's crazy. Making six figures.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we got some comments here. Sports Card Show cheers from Ziggy. What's up, Ziggy?
What's up, man?
We got Ranger Second 75th, Rolling Tide, rolling with the fellas. From the bench, this is going to be a good What's to Play episode.
Let's go.
As well. Sports Card Show is not too late. Talking about producing music.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. It's never too late. You know, I told myself if I ever did music again, I would do it under my own circumstances, because I hated the fact that back when I was doing music, like, bro, I had no regular job. I was doing music, and that was how I was making money. I was going from studio to studio, doing 10-hour, 12-hour sessions, working on beats. My goal was like, I used to make 10 beats a day.
Okay.
That was literally like my goal. And I remember watching this Kanye, the new Kanye video that he did, basically about his wife on Netflix. Bro, I just remember certain situations very similar to what he was going through. And man, I just could totally relate to what he had to go through just to make it to the other side. But, you know, shout out to Kanye for actually believing in himself more than anybody else. And I just remember going through those things that he did, and people would tell you what you couldn't do. You know,
somebody telling you what you cannot do.
That's right. I mean, but you know what's crazy? People told me what I couldn't do with Culture Collision. I had people tell me what I could not do with Culture Collision, told me it would not work. It would not make sense, and I don't get it. And man, I'm thankful that people do get it, you know, and that's, you know what I'm saying, that's a blessing. So I'm happy.
So let's get into Culture Collision. So what prompted you and made you want to do your own show? Walk us through kind of how that started.
I want to say it was April of last year. My wife told me I had to open up a card shop or do a show. Basically, very simple. She said, you got to do a show. And I'm like, she said, first thing I want you to do is give me a date and name it. And I said, and all I kept thinking was culture collision. I was like, this, I feel like this, I need to do this. And then I just set a date. And it just so happened it was the same weekend as Dallas. But
Yeah, I remember that.
but hey, but it's cool though. I felt like that was a gift and a curse. We held our own, and I'm happy about that. So, but yeah, like that's how Culture Collision basically was born. I mean, it was an idea. I felt like there was an opportunity because I felt like I wanted to bring a good, solid show to Atlanta. I feel like Atlanta is a great market. People don't realize how big the market of Atlanta is. Like we're number 2 for the sneaker world.
Oh,
We're
really?
number 2. Only people that beat Atlanta is New York. LA is 3rd. Atlanta is 2nd.
Where's Chicago on that list? Where's Chicago at?
I don't remember where they were on that list, but it wasn't like I was really shocked by the fact that Atlanta was actually such a big market for sneakers. But I understand it because I was actually doing this is kind of backstory for me too. Before I got into like as I made that step to go to cards, I was doing sneakers too. I would go to the store, but I would only go to the store and buy a pair of sneakers. If I had an extra pair, I just buy the extra pairs they had left over. And I make a little bit of money, and I'm happy with that. Appreciate you guys saying the best show in the country. We coming for the number 1 spot. That's all I'm gonna say. And you know, basically, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I just want to make a change in the industry. I just want to give back to the community. I had all these different emotions and things that I really wanted to do. I mean, also the other aspect of it, FD, is I'm gonna say this. I've never really said this, but being a black person in this card space is difficult at times, and people don't understand that. You know, when I first got into this card industry, people would look at me crazy. You know, when I say I wanted certain cards, as if I couldn't afford it, this, that, and the other, and you know, that kind of bothered me in the beginning. And I kept saying to myself, like, man, I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna keep pushing myself. I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing that. And I'm thankful because, you know, I had a bad relationship, and that bad relationship made me engulf myself in the card industry and pushed me to become better. And, you know, and like I focused on my mental health and everything to get to the next level, and to be able to go through the things that I had to go through to get to this is a big blessing, man. So I just want to say that, you know, to the African Americans that are out there, don't be discouraged, keep going. And don't listen to nobody, man. Just focus on what you feel like you can do. And because honestly, I will say this, you know, there's negative things you can say about the card industry, but there's a whole lot of positive things you can say about this industry because it's blessed me in so many ways.
You know, I'll say this. I've told this story before. Like, you know, so I started collecting when I was 8 years old. I would go to shows. I would go to local card shows. I'm the only black person there. I would go to shows like you're talking about the Chicago Sun-Times, or you go to the National in Chicago. Probably one of 3 black people there. Nobody in my age group, because of the first Rosemont show I went to, I got a Willie Sargent autograph. I was like 14, 15 years old. So there's no one else at the show that's 14, 15 years old from the South Side that's at that show. I've been in numerous card stores all over this country where people talk to you like you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything about cards or pretty much sports in general, but really focusing on cards, like how much something sells for, what brand is what, who's a certain player, when number stuff came out, what the prices of that was, when stuff started getting graded, because I remember that, what grades mean. So I'll focus on making sure that when I went anywhere, and my father was a person who supported stuff, my mom too. So I would get into the gnat's ass about what a product was, all the information that I needed to know. So when I walked into a place, I knew exactly what I was talking about. And usually I would just start the conversation and try to learn more about the person I'm talking to and let them kind of speak and understand their rhythm on what do they think I know. And some people you meet will respect you and talk to you. some people you would meet even when I got into my 20s. With I remember being in a suburb of the Bay Area, and I was grown. Person talking to me like who also does content now, which was funny. To talk to me like I didn't know what I was talking about. So I can relate with that. But I think what you said, which is good, is that you got this as a person, an individual, just push through all of that, and then you'll end up being an example of something. If you want to be an example or not, you will end up being an example of, oh wow, I flipped the script on that person. I've never met a person that knew this much. I don't care what their color is, and that's what I've tried to do.
That's good. I think that's what makes everybody's story unique, is being able to come from adversity and like whatever, because I never tell, like, when people, like, what's crazy is, like, I'll put my story right on my Instagram, and I talk about some of the things maybe I'm dealing with, right? Because I feel like I'm a human being, and sometimes I'm very transparent. My wife hates that I'm so transparent with people, because if I say I don't like something, or I feel a certain type of way, I'll just say it. You know what I'm saying? So people that know me personally is like, they know I'm a genuine person. I speak how I feel, but that's a gift and a curse, right? But I like to be real and say how I feel, and then when people, relate to me, right? They'll hit me in my Instagram and say, man, it's crazy. I didn't even know you had to deal with something like that. I'm dealing with something like that. And to be able to talk about you overcoming adversity is a blessing in itself to other people. So I think that even the story you're just saying now, flipping the script on that person, like, that's another blessing. Like, and I think that's a good thing. You should put that energy and putting that out there. Somebody can relate to that, and I think that it can help them in the long haul. So
because all of us have a story. All of us have a story about how we got involved in cars, our interest in sports, or whatever we're involved in. My daughter likes to basket weave. She has a story about why she likes to do that. So we all have a story about how we started, and then that helps people connect and relate to one another, because we've been through something similar probably that we can talk about.
It's oh man, I'm about to say something crazy. All right, so this guy, about it was probably right before I announced Culture Collision, he literally hit me up. I think his name is Garen. I forgot his last name. Shout out to Garen. He followed me on Instagram. He hit me up. He's like a he's a life coach, basically.
Okay.
He hit me up. He has like 500,000 followers, and he posts a lot of nice content. But he hit me up randomly, was like, man, I think your page is dope. I think the one thing is missing from your page is you. And he said, I think you need to be more vocal. I think you need to talk more. I think you need to be more relatable. I think you need to go more live more. And I'm like, I still don't do it as much, but I try. I do try. But I just think that was that person, like, he made it to where I felt it was okay for me to be transparent. It's okay to be flawed, because I think for people to relate to you, you have to be real. You have to be like, you can't be superficial and be like, you know what I'm saying, like, I'm on this whole nother level and you're not gonna ever be there. No, I need people to know, guess what, man, I was just like you. I didn't know anything about the car industry. I had to engulf myself and study and bust my ass and be able to get to this next level, to where people feel like they can respect me. Like, honestly, I feel like I have to bust my ass for people to respect me in this space. And I think that, and it's funny you talked about going into the shops and studying what your product and talking to people. Like, bro, like, that stuff is really important. When you can talk to, like, my conversation changed when people understood it. I understood the business of the hobby, and from that point on, it was just like, oh, he gets it, and that was it. And so, I say that to everybody that's out there, man. Like, I'm gonna keep pushing people to push the envelope and keep trying to make things better. Even if you mess up, it's okay. Keep going.
Well, we both have that I'm hearing. I try to go live more. I've been working on that. Talking to people more.
Yeah.
We first started the channel. I was more focused on, again, doing research, understanding what I'm talking about, talking to people, trying to build relationships. Then I started realizing after about a year, like, I need to tell people more about what I'm thinking, some ideas that I have, share more stuff about me. Share more stuff about my family, my sons, what am I doing with them, really all of that. And I think when we first started, that was probably fourth on my list. There was much more other stuff that I was thinking about. When we started talking as a family, like, people don't really know my personality. So, like, my girlfriend started telling me, like, you laugh and joke about stuff, but nobody at the show would ever know that.
Right.
Nobody knows what you think is humorous. We've been starting to do more stuff of,
I've seen it. It's good.
Yeah, almost comedy related. But really, like, my son talks about a bunch of stuff, and he reminds me a lot. I don't tell him this, but he's a lot like I was when I was a kid. I'm gonna ask a lot of questions. I'm gonna get a lot of answers. I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna articulate to you what I'm thinking. He does it all the time. So he does this stuff at the house all the time. We're like, we should probably start recording this. Somebody else might want to see that, at least know more about him or how we kind of poke fun at each other, go back and forth sometimes. He gives me ideas sometimes on sports. And so I said, I might as well start bringing that to people.
Yeah.
So I encourage you, man, to do more lives. We'll probably be working on that together, talk about more stuff, give more insight about what you think. I think people want to hear it. We even got people in the comments that are saying certain things. So people definitely want to hear from Prizm Gawd.
No, I appreciate it, man. I do recognize that I've had conversations with a lot of different people about it, and it's been one of those. I'm fighting, man. I'm fighting to try to get the right videographer, because I'm honestly, and I'm also one of those people that if I film, I don't even want to look at it. I just put it out. I don't even want to look at it. I'm like my worst critic, so it's terrible.
I understand. Believe me, I understand that. So tell us a little bit more about Culture Collision. Tell us the importance of the name.
All right.
Kind of what you want to bring to card shows, and how do you think your show is different than other shows?
All right. So Culture Collision, I guess one of the things about it was I wanted to bring in different ideas under one umbrella. Of course, people knew me for sports cards, so it was going to be a sports card driven show. Well, some people that know me close know that I love sneakers, so I wanted to add the elements of sneakers. The other stuff was almost really already there anyway. It was the gaming cards, the Pokemons, the Funko Pop, stuff like that. That element was already really at card shows. It's just nobody really was just like, yeah, you can bring that officially, but people would bring it anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's the sneaker market to me that was the biggest thing that people were missing. And that was really my element that I really wanted to add and focus on. And then you'll see me focus more on pop culture this next show. I'm going to focus a lot more on pop culture because I think it's important for us to get new collectors. New collectors, in order to attract new collectors, we have to change some of the things that have been going on in the hobby. You can't continue to have a regular old card shop. That's done. You got it like, what's the name? Card Vault. They just won Card Shop of the Year. Their freaking card shop looks like a vault. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you go in there, it's like, makes you feel like you in an important space, or, they got a bunch of cards that might be in reference to history. So, hold on. So I'm trying to read what somebody said. Prizm Gawd any plans on name change since Prizm is overproduced? Maybe Flawless or National Treasures God. Oh man, it's funny. No, Prizm Gawd is probably here to stay. I'll be honest with you. But as I pivot more over to the business, you'll probably hear me use my real name, which is Raphael. You'll probably hear me use that a lot more. Even if you just noticed the last little YouTube video I just did with OTE and Tops, it was called Card Stars. We just put that out last week, and we got a new episode coming out this week. We plan on doing another season too, I think. So as we continue to grow that, people they're calling me by my real name, Raphael. So I'm sure there's some other reasons behind it, but I don't want to go too deep into it. But going back into Culture Collision, the name was really that. It was, and we're colliding it, putting it all in one element and putting it together. And I think when I first came out, I used to post not your typical card show. I used to tell people, if you feel like you want to come to a regular card show, you may not want to come here. If you want to see something different and you want some new energy and you want to see new collectors, people that you don't see all the time, come to Culture Collision. We have, any collectors from A to Z. And I think that the elements of the reason why the elements of sneakers is important because the demographic for sneakers is a lot younger than the card industry. So by adding sneakers, my idea was bringing in sneakers hard, and we bring in an element of now we got tenure, a lot more kids at the show versus it being a bunch of guys 30 to 40 years old. But I think even now you're starting to see kids now. It's like, I think the average age of the card show now is probably anywhere from 15 to 20 years old, which is still a good situation for us because it's not 30 to 40 years old. It's 15-year-olds who are getting $100,000 cars nowadays. You know what I mean? Which is kind of cool to see. It's exciting, right?
Sure.
So I think that as long as we focus on the youth, the future, and trying to appeal to those people and new people, I think we're headed in the right direction, and that's where Culture Collision wants to be at. I'm basically about to announce the first ever Card Star weekend. It's about to be a whole nother type of show. It's going to be everything you've seen and loved with the last show and more.
That's good. That's good. So let me ask you this. I want to ask you a real question about, you're the only show that's hosted and run as an African American. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I didn't know that until I did the first show, and then one of my friends kind of pointed that out for me. Yeah.
How in that space, right? What feedback have you received? How do you think people are receiving your show when compared to Dallas, other shows? Is it seem the same, or is it seem different?
I would say, all right, well, the first show, right? The first show that I had, it's funny you say that. The first show that I had, people were telling me they were whispering, man, can you believe a black person running this show? So somebody made a comment, like, which I mean, I took it as like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, that's fine. I just wanted to do the best show I could do, and I didn't care what it looked like. So I think that it was kind of a dope compliment to hear, but at the same time, I mean, it could be rubbed the wrong way to the right person. But me, I didn't look at it like that way. So, but to answer your question, in the beginning, like I said, I went against how people felt. People felt like I shouldn't have added sneakers. People felt like, actually, I remember somebody sent me a comment in my Instagram, was kind of like, I feel like if you add sneakers, you're probably inviting the wrong people to the culture. And I'm like, well, guess what? The wrong people are probably already in the culture. So what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, I think people are looking at it the wrong way. You got to take the good with the bad. I mean, if we expect it to expand and become more of the majority than the minority, then I think at the end of the day, like you got to be able to accept it. But I think if you educate people, which is what we've been trying to focus on, and I think that's why we have these conversations, right?
That's right.
What we're doing right now is an education. People that are paying attention, like you get a chance to hear raw, uncut information. Mm-hmm. So that's why you got to take the time to study, pay attention to what's going on, and don't walk down the wrong alley, with your cards, and just be smart about what you're doing. So, I mean, in the beginning, like after the first show, they were already comparing me to Dallas, so I was already happy. Okay. Dallas had already been doing shows for 2 years at that point. I was pretty excited. Now I'm starting to hear people talk about the fact that, we can compete with nationals. I'm pretty happy. I mean, that's an exciting terminology, right? But I feel like Culture Collision can coincide with the nationals. I think what we're seeing is the fact that I think that the hobby can sustain based upon having solid big shows consistently, long as they're not being, I feel like people do a disservice by running them at the same time. But I think that if you have, if you space it out and time it out, I think it can work, and it can work out for the hobby. That's basically my 2 cents with that.
Understood. Tell everybody when's the next Culture Collision show? All
right, so the next Culture Collision is January 27th through the 29th. Hosted again, I believe eBay is going to be one of our main sponsors, should be our main sponsor as far as I know. We are adding the element of OTE with that partnership. OTE is going to definitely be a lot more heavily involved, which if anybody knows about them, they're Overtime Elite. They cater towards the advanced basketball players. Also have the Topps product that's out. So,
yeah, I think you posted something the other day on your page about it, right?
Yeah, I just posted today. Actually, opened up a box of Topps OTE because I actually just bought this weekend the superfractor of Amen Thompson. He's supposed to be a top 5 draft pick. Him and his twin brother supposed to be top 5 draft picks. Those guys they can ball.
The cards look good.
Oh yeah, they're definitely. Think about the nostalgic of Topps Chrome, right? We haven't seen a superfractor basketball card in decades. So now we get a chance to see it with some up-and-comer players. I think it's really exciting. So I'm happy about it.
So Smoothness 1000 has a question. Hey, PG, what's your favorite Prizms and why?
I got to say Prizm Gold and Prizm Black. I used to be a big fan of Prizm Mojo, but it's like I feel like it's that stepchild that everybody's like it's low numbered, but nobody really likes. So if you go back to my earlier postings and on my Instagram page, you'll see that I used to post Prizm goals all the time. And at 2017, I think at 2017 class in Prizms, I had all the Prizm goals of the good people except for Tatum and Mitchell. And I should have had Tatum, but my wife wouldn't let me buy the card.
That'd be a card today, wouldn't it?
Man, I remind her all the time. I could have bought it for $4,000. I'll tell her. I was like, see?
Oh, wow.
See? Yeah, she lets me buy what I want now.
That'd be a conversation for a while.
Yeah. I remind her of a few pieces that we could have bought. Like, say, look, we could have bought a quad 9.5 Jordan rookie. My boy, rest in peace, Terry, tried to offer me for $17,000. And you know what I mean? A quad 9.5 Jordan now is.
What year was that though? What year was that?
That was right before. Honestly, it was right before. What's the name? Save the Last Dance. It was the Last Dance. So said Save the Last Dance. It was right before the Last Dance. So
that's one of those things in a hobby. No one would have known what was about to happen with that card.
I knew it was a good investment piece because at that time I was buying. That's why she wouldn't let me buy, because I literally right before COVID like really took off. Remember there was this moment where people were panicking. Yeah. I panicked for one sale. I sold my Giannis BGS 10 rookie. I had just bought it for $6,000. I think I took an L on it. Might have sold it for like $4,500. And then I turned around and I was like, why am I selling? And this is just so you guys know, this is a lesson for you guys.
Speak on it.
If the industry is panicking, do not panic. Continue buying and just buy smart. That's right. It. And what I did was I turned around and took that $4,500 after I took that first L. I bought a BGS 10 LeBron James Bowman Chrome. I sold it for $17,000. I bought it for $3,000, sold it for $17,000. And I turned around and bought a Kevin Durant Bowman Chrome 9.5 refractor for like $1,000. And I think I passed on $19,000, but ended up selling for $12,000. But I still ended up winning. But the point of what I'm saying is like those were moments to, instead of panicking, just stay in it. Stay in it.
I'm like where we are right now.
I mean, you see, I'm still buying. I post every day. I'm still buying. I'm out here. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still an opportunity. Like what's special about this moment right now that people need to realize is that we are in basketball, especially. Well, it's actually basketball and football. Mm-hmm. We are transitioning to generational talent now. So the opportunity to potentially get $1 million card, it could be right now.
Well, what you're saying is LeBron is how much longer is he going to play?
3 years.
Yeah. How much longer is he going to play?
Exactly.
Who else do we have out here?
I mean,
those are kind of the ghosts of the game right now. That's right. So who's up next?
Exactly. So that's why a lot of times you'll see me post some of the up and coming generation players because I'm looking for them. I'm watching. I'm paying attention. I'm studying what they're doing. And this is kind of like how you become great in this industry. I look at their Instagram page. I look at their Twitter page. I follow any YouTube content. It's like when you think about a stock, you don't just buy stock. You got to engulf yourself in the stock. You got to pay attention to it. And to me, somebody that cares about how they, the perception of how they are in the industry, like their work ethic, stuff like that. I think that's where, I have to pay attention to. Kind of like even with Mac Jones this year, people were kind of down on Mac Jones, but I'm like, man, but he lost weight. He's dedicated to the game. I mean, I respect him more than I respect a lot of people that just out here playing. So, but right now is a time for generational talent. There's a lot out here, so you got to pay attention. Josh probably one of them as long as he stays healthy. I like him a lot. I think he's.
So how much sports watching do you do? Like, how much does that go into your overall?
So it's funny. I don't watch it nearly as much as I probably should, but it's probably because I don't have enough time. I used to be able to go to the bar and watch a game with my friends, or I watch back-to-back games. Now it's like I probably maybe watch one. Like during the basketball season, I might watch, maybe 20 games through the course of a whole year. I watch.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Man, I mean, the problem with me is now I travel half the week now, Thursday through most of the time Thursday or Friday through Sunday or Monday, and then then now I'm working on Culture Collision. So, and that doesn't stop. So it's just really hard.
I know it's hard. I can only imagine. We talked about culture collision, and we talked about some aspects of that. Let's jump into diversity in the hobby. When you hear that phrase, because I what I don't want to do is shape your answer. I want people to hear what Prizm Gawd has to say. When you hear diversity in the hobby, what comes to your mind? What do you think the hobby is right now? And what do you think of some things that could happen next 6 months, a year, 3 years?
All right, so diversity in the hobby is definitely happening. I will say it's happening. Will it get better? I think so. I definitely think so. I definitely see a lot more minorities in this hobby, in this space, more than I have in the past. I would say, like, I see a lot more people in this space than I have. Like, I remember going to the show in 2017, like, because I felt like I know I keep referencing 2017, but I think that was like the first time I really was like engulfed in the industry because I was going to a lot more shows. Like back when I was in high school, like I said, I only went to one big show at that time. I couldn't really afford to go anywhere, and then I was in college. So most of that time I was in college. So I say 2017 when I was able to really like move around, go to shows, go to card shops. I remember seeing like 4 or 5 African American, 4 or 5 black people at a card show, and that was it. Like I remember seeing Eric Burtz, my boy Jesse, Terrence from Chicago, Milwaukee, and then Tony Devine. Like those are the only black people that I used to see at shows. Now I'm sure there's other minorities that would come to the show as well. But like those, I mean, that's being black, you kind of look for yourself. You want to see yourself first there, right? And then you got to see what's going on. You get a feel for what's going on. You relate to whoever, and then you kind of go from there. What I would like to see in this space happen is more black people be at the front of the table or the head of the table, because I hate that we're on the cards, but we're not represented in the forefront of the business. But I think it's nobody else's fault but our own. And I say that for this reason, right? Like, your first question you asked me is how did culture collision start? You know what I mean? Honestly, it was just an idea. I pursued it and I kept going.
Yeah. And
now, like, so I feel like if I wanted to be at the front of another table, all I got to do is just pursue it. You know what I mean? So, and then I think that's definitely something I'm thinking about doing, and I definitely want to be at the forefront of the people that have some say-so on how the future of the hobby can be, because I think that I got some good ideas to help us, at the forefront. And I think having somebody at the higher ups and being able to relate to the athletes and relate to the people that are coming in, right? I think that we need that. Like, I think there was a disconnect between Drake and King Golden. I'm sorry, it was. I think there was definitely, like, where's Drake now? Drake didn't come to the Nationals. You know what I mean? So I think that if there was a way for us to bridge the gap completely, I think it can help us overcome a lot of different things, and I think it'll help us a lot too.
What do you think about, like, I know we talked about earlier, children in the hobby, age groups. We talked about sneakers. What do you think could be done more to engage more children of different races or whatever, but just a younger group to come to more shows?
Well, I think kids have been priced out for a while now. Now it's just more so.
Because if we go back, right, you talked about earlier starting kind of in retail. The first cars I ever purchased for a long time were at retail. I'm talking about 7-Eleven, Walgreens in Chicago, places like that. So I got my hands on cars. If I didn't start there, where am I starting? Now we think retail's taboo. If you go into a Target and buy cars, I don't care about that. People are talking about, I don't care about that. But what does a kid start?
I think, and it's unfortunate because the price of boxes went up at Walmart and Target. It used to be $20. I think it's like $30 or $40 now. Which, I mean, of course, again, it's not nobody else's fault, but the hobby's growing, right? But I think that we got to figure out a way to get those prices back down to a competitive price because I talked about this before in another podcast. Is we have a few gateways in this industry, and one of them is retail, the other one's a card shop, and the other one's a card show. So all 3 elements of the hobby have to be fulfilled. We got to be able to bring in people through the retail aspect of it, so we have to make it available for people. And then, but here's another aspect of it. I think Wiz the Collector talked about it before in the past. Why we don't have cards in a Walmart on La Vista Road in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like we don't have it in certain neighborhoods, right? So I think that we have to change that. We have to make it to where these kids. But here's the other aspect of it too. We want to educate them. Like I really kind of like, what's funny is they gave away free packs of cards at the Del Mar show, and people was coming up to my table was like, "Hey, you trade?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it was like, well, I said, "What you got?" They say, "I got these packs." I say, "Well, I'll trade you your packs for the cards if you want to trade for if you want." And I kind of taught them in that moment that it was a better investment to choose the cards that you rather have than opening up this random pack. I think that's an education that I think we miss a lot of times. So I think there's a conversation that needs to be had there, at least on that level. And then even with the hobby shops, I mean, I feel like it's hobby shops a lot of times either they're ungrateful because somebody comes in there and spends $2,000, they don't treat them right? They give them attitude. Oh, you got your $2,000. All right, see you later. Bye. There's no relationship there, right? And then and there's no education there either. Because let's say I'm random. I come into a hobby shop. Hey, I heard about your shop, man. I'm coming in. I spent $2,000, and I get attitude. Am I coming back? Did I pull anything good? No. So I just lost $2,000, and I had a horrible experience. And that was opportunity for a collector. So I don't know, man. I really feel like we really need a whole new revamp, right? And I think that new revamp can allow us to get these kids in here and have them be a part of the hobby, like not be excluded. And that's one of the things we're actually working on for Culture Collision. The last Culture Collision, we invited the Boys and Girls Clubs and the Boy Scouts. We gave away over 200 tickets.
Very good.
Yeah, so we're working on making that even a bigger situation because actually we didn't get that relationship until probably a month before the show. So now we have more time.
You got it.
You said what?
Yeah. I said, but you got it though.
Oh yeah. No, we did. But you know what I mean? I think that we could have done better, and I think that's what we're trying to work on now. So we definitely trying to build a team to build a relationship with the Boys and Girls Club, the Boy Scouts, the YMCA, because it's much needed. That's what I'm saying. Like, why Panini can't do that? Like, why we can't get we need this to happen. Like, if we want more kids, we got to get it to happen. So where they're not coming in here and looking at cards for $10,000 and they just looking and they can't be a part of that. So
true. Now, what's cool to hear about what you're doing is that, like, I talk to people from all over the country, and there are some shows that the showrunner may not even want anybody to trade at that show, or they don't want certain cards sold at that show. It's geared towards a certain demographic, an older group. They're really saying they don't want certain age groups in that show doing anything. And that happens in this country right now. And what does that leave a kid who can't travel? So let's say you're in, I don't know, Indiana. You're in whatever state you're in, and you really can't get out of that situation. What is your perception of the hobby by just what you're around? But then you have people like you, and I know Del Mar's doing stuff, Burbank's doing stuff out here, and Dion is doing stuff up in the Bay Area, where they're trying to engage people. They're trying to bring people in. We talk about major sports in America having a problem with getting the youth interested in that sport to later develop, become players on the field that we watch on TV. It's the same way in the card game.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I think Gary Vee just posted, and I'm just thinking about what you're saying, and like it's maybe just clicked for me a little bit. Like, when's the last time you watched a baseball game?
This is my point. It's hard for me. And I grew up watching baseball. It's hard for me. So, like, I'm talking about like a whole game, like a whole 9-inning game. Oh, it's been years on TV, years.
Yeah. So ain't that crazy though? That's crazy. Gary Vee said that you're gonna see more people post short clips on YouTube than ever in the next couple of years. A, because we don't have attention span, and B, we don't have enough time. Only time we don't have enough time. You know what I mean? So
I asked you earlier about watching sports, right? I do all of my watching from clips somewhere. A lot of times I get on YouTube and watch a summary of a basketball game, like a 9 to 10 minute summary. And I'm watching that's my game.
What I'm doing. I mean, honestly, and that's so only time I really can watch a game, because I can't watch a game during the daytime. I usually have to watch a game before I go to sleep. And chances are I'm probably gonna fall asleep. I'm probably gonna fall asleep watching the game.
That's what
So it's really like, so for me, that's why I can't really watch the game, because sometimes it's like I might be, unless I'm multitasking, working and watching the game, it's hard. And then usually most of the time at nighttime, I'm giving that time to my wife, so it's kind of like
That's right.
so it's
You're not
like
gonna change the whole game. Yeah.
so it's like most of the time I don't get a chance to watch a game. I'll have to watch the stats on my phone, like, oh, okay, cool, he scored, and just go from there. But I just think it's crazy.
One time I was sitting in class and a professor told me, "Who in here watches sports?" A bunch of us threw our hand up, and he said, "If you're spending 2 or 3 hours watching a game, you're wasting time."
Yep.
That's a bunch of stuff that you could get done. I remember in high school, man, I would watch Florida State in the morning on ABC all the way through to the night game. That's when I was 16, 17 years old. I ain't have nothing else going on. I'm just zoomed in on sports. Then you start living your life. Like, you can't sit down and watch that stuff.
No, you can't. It's definitely a lot harder. I feel like it's a lot harder now than it's ever been for me, and I enjoy it. Like, I didn't even go to a basketball game. I was telling my wife, like, I have been trying to go to a basketball game this whole last season. I ended up going. My first game was the Boston game, and me and Wiz had went to Brooklyn. I took him to the game for his birthday. We was in. It was Boston versus Brooklyn. That was that game. That game right before they got swept. And man, like, that was the first time I've been to a game in a long time. And then I went to the game after that with my wife, and it was like thinking to myself, like, dang, it's the only time I can really watch a whole game is if I'm at the game. And even then, I'm still probably working on my phone.
So you got stuff to do, man. This is what happens when you have stuff to do. You got other people around you. You got families. You got other things going on. Everybody needs a slice to go 24 hours. How much of that are you going to spend watching the game?
No, it's tough. It's definitely tough. But you know what though? But I feel like that's what's missing for the kids though. The kids don't have time.
True.
The kids don't have time to watch the game. Like, what's funny, even more funny, is most of the kids don't even have time to they don't even go out and go play the game. Or they're probably playing video games before they play, watch the real game. Like, it's probably more entertaining for them to play 2K than to watch an NBA game or watch a baseball game. But I think that if we got to figure out a way to bring it back to that, man. We do.
Very true. So now, what is in your PC? What do you collect that you say, you know what, I got to hold on to this?
Oh, man. I feel like my PC has changed so much. I try to buy, I probably try to buy priceless type of items where it's like, I don't like to spend a lot of money on my PC no more. Like, I found myself at one point, I was just like, all right, $4,000, cool. But like, I don't like doing that no more, because it's like, I feel like I ain't gonna say it's tough, but it's tough. Like, I mean, even the jersey on my wall, LeBron jersey on my wall, I bought it last Nationals. Like, if it wasn't for the fact my boy financed me, I probably wouldn't have bought it. But it's just like, it's crazy. But in my PC right now, I would say I have a lot of African American cards. Like, I got the John David Washington card. I mean, I have sentimental pieces. I got the Black Panther card, the 101 card I bought right before he passed away. I still have some Muhammad Ali pieces that I consider my PC cards, stuff that I really don't bring out that much. Right now, people have been seeing me pick up those Prizm Gawd of WWE players. Well, it was WWF when I was growing up, so WWF players. Pretty much, I was gonna put the whole set together, but I just ended up focusing on the legends that I knew I love, like Ultimate Warrior, you know what I'm saying, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, stuff like that. So, and Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels. So those are the guys I really end up just kind of focusing on. But even that's expensive right now for me, because it's like I have backpedaling. Huh?
Yeah, that market has changed.
Yeah, it is. But it used to be more expensive when it first came out. Now it's a little bit cheaper, but it's still. I mean, if we talk about PC, is like, unfortunately, I'm still buying cards to make money. So, you know what I'm saying? But the problem is though, you want a PC something. Like, I'm addicted. I am a card collector, but at the same time, I still gotta, keep going.
When I talk to people who buy and sell for a living, it's good to hear what their PC is, because you don't know until you ask. Like, you may assume that Prizm Gawd is keeping these cards and not so. But usually the PC, from what I've talked to certain people, it's like what you described, things that you really get into and you like, and you're not concerned so much about the value of it.
Yeah.
It's the sentimental side of it and what memories it brings back from a yesteryear of your life.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I did a trade with on one of my pieces that I got. I had traded for a Roman Reigns Prizm Gawd, and I think the deal was probably worth like $6,000 because the last one I did like 6,000. So I did a trade, so I gave away $6,000 full of cards for this card, and of course the card's probably not worth $6,000 now. But I mean, they made a comment on their page basically saying like, who won this deal, and I made a comment back, and I was like, we'll see in a couple years who won this deal. I mean, it's not. But for me, though, it wasn't about the money. It was about just I really wanted the card. So trading into it gave me something that I wanted. So I didn't really care about the value. You know what I mean? So, because a lot of times I win on deals more than I lose anyway. So for me, it's like I'm cool. I might lose on one, but I don't lose as much. So,
and I think everybody out there that may be just getting started with cards, there will come a time that you will want something because you want it and it means something to you. And you're not looking at a comp to understand if I'm going to buy this or not. No, it's bigger, deeper than that, more than that. So I can completely understand that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I am. It's funny. Like I think I did a YouTube show on my channel, and I talked about like, am I a seller or am I a collector or am I a seller? And I end up saying that I'm a hybrid. Like I really am like that. Like it's times I'll buy stuff that's like, man, I do not want to sell this card. But I've been thinking to myself, like, man, I paid $40,000 for this card. I can't keep this card. I can't do this. It's just like but I did take the delivery. I did buy an exquisite LeBron rookie. That's my PC card. I've not sold that card. It's still my card. And then I have an exquisite Jordan nameplate card too. So those are like my expensive cards that are in my collection that I'm PCing. Like I said, I have some things that I won't sell.
So now, let's talk about some sports teams in Atlanta, because I've always wanted to get your perspective on the Atlanta Hawks and the Falcons. So do you cheer for these teams? Yeah, I wonder if Prizm Gawd.
I found myself rooting for the all right. Yeah, no, yeah, I saw you. Yeah, you disconnected for a second. I was gonna say, so to answer your question, I did not root for the Atlanta Falcons at all. I probably will never do that. But basketball, I like Trae Young. I do like Trae Young, and I like DeJounte Murray acquisition. I do like the Hawks. I think the Hawks have opportunity. But I can't do the. I'm a Bears fan. I'm a Bulls fan. That's really my heart. But
all right, are you talking to? All right.
And I'm also a White Sox fan. So basically, if I'm gonna do baseball, is like mainly the guys I root for. Other than that, I did root for the the Atlanta United. Atlanta United had season tickets for them at one point in time when the inaugural season, and then the year they won the championship. So I was there for those 2 years. That's actually really cool game to go to. And then let's see. I would say the Falcons. I just can't get into. I actually be teasing my friends about the fact that they lost it. I mean, lost it to Brady. I mean, never forget. I mean, I can't root for that.
But they choked that out, right?
Yeah, could have ran the ball the rest of the game and won. But I mean, I'm just saying, it's just. I mean, ain't taking. Yeah. I mean, no, I can't root. I cannot root for the Falcons. I'm a Bears fan. Plus, on top of that, my cousin Glenn Foster played for the Saints, so I definitely couldn't do it. So yeah, I used to go to his games and watch him beat the Falcons. So it used to be fun.
That's cool. So now, when I was at Del Mar, I had a good conversation with Wiz and Mike about top 25 NBA, right? It's a great conversation. I probably remember that thing for years. So I wanted to ask you, where do you put LeBron James? I'm talking about current great players. LeBron James, KD. Yeah, LeBron James, KD, Steph, and probably Giannis. What do you think about these players when we talk about top 25, top 15, top 10?
Of current players that are still playing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, LeBron has to be number one. Steph Curry probably be number two.
Okay.
Shoot. I mean, I would argue number three has to be Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he's a top player. Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I would probably say I don't know, people may not like this, but I probably would argue that maybe Giannis could be number 4, and then maybe Luke could be number 5. Ja's like number 6 for me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like I could see. I would say Luka and Ja could be almost interchangeable, just based upon like, I don't know. I feel like Ja's really can't. He'll probably end up having an MVP year. To be honest with you, I think he's gonna play really good.
It's gonna be exciting to see what he does next year.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm rooting for him, man. I really more than anything before he even wins, I just want him to stay healthy.
That's what I want to see as well. That's what I want to see as well.
What I hate is I hated Derrick Rose. Like I was so rooting for Derrick Rose, and it just broke my heart. You know what I'm saying, to see him go through what he had to go through, and I just see so much Derrick Rose and Ja Morant. And it's scary. So, you know what I mean? Like, so, Ja, if you're watching, man, take care of yourself, man. Take care of yourself.
I always say when I look at Ja, a mid-range jump shot will help him out.
Man, I just wanted him to learn how to not go from 0 to 60, man. Go from 0 to 10, 0 to 10 to 20, you know what I'm saying? And not just go from one side of the court to the other side, but it's also amazing to watch though, and it's really dope. But I guess after, what did I say? I think I ended with Ja. Shoot. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of everybody else in the NBA. Who's else in the top 25 outside of that? I can't even think of nobody else.
Let me ask you this question. What do you think of the comparisons between Michael Jordan and LeBron James?
Two different type of players.
Yeah, I agree.
Kobe's the closest thing to.
I agree.
He's the closest thing to Jordan. So I thought he was going to ask me all time. So I already had it in my mind. I already knew I was going to say all time. I was going to say,
go ahead. Let's talk all time.
Greatest basketball player ever.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Wilt's the greatest basketball player of all time. LeBron's probably second. I would say Jordan would be third, and then Kobe would probably be right under him. And and then Steph Curry's probably going to be in that conversation too. But what's really funny about Steph is the fact that it's like he made shooting cool. Like shooting from a distance. Like, you know what I mean? Like
deep.
Shooting. Yeah, like he changed the game, right? Like he changed the way that the game is played. Now you can't, like, he showed you that you can't. Like, you're going to have to either press me full court or play me as soon as I can step on the other side of that line, because I can shoot it from anywhere. That's a different type of game. You know what I mean? So, and that's what I think is special about Steph Curry. And he shoots it efficiently, and that's what makes it even better. Like, he's also changed, like people shoot from here, he's shooting from down here. Like, it's a different type of style. Like, if you look at Trae Young and all these guys, they have learned how to shoot that shot, and it's that's a special game. So I like the up and coming people, but I would say like my top 5 would have been easily, Wilt, Wilt is still. And I would say, like, again, LeBron, Jordan, Kobe. Shoot, I don't know, man. I feel like you got to add Magic, man. People don't really appreciate Magic for what it was, but Magic was really dope too. Magic was really dope too. It's just so many talented players, but I'm gonna say that's my 4 right now. I don't know if I'm say my 5th yet.
I like the inclusion of Wilt. Most people kind of sleep on, I would say, before 1970. A lot of people sleep on that. A lot of people are not talking about those players. It's kind of cool to hear you to include Wilt, because I think he also changed the game on how it was defended, played, everything when he came, and the agility he had, and how fast he could run. He was a different big man. So
there you go. Not many big men could do exactly what he did. He's no different than LeBron James, in my opinion, with like what he can do even at the age that he's at now. And even even when he was younger, man. Even 6'9", 240 pound, running like a freight train. And people, I remember back in the day, I didn't say back in the day, but let's just say when LeBron was a rookie in 2003, people was getting out of his man's way. Yeah. Stay out of his way. Like, nobody would try LeBron back in the day. So,
well, Kevin Garnett came out and said when they played them in the finals, like, they did everything they could do to stop him. And you got many Hall of Famers on the team, and how much he was just wearing them down. They were waiting for him to get tired. It never happened.
Nah, LeBron was probably one of the best freak athletes ever outside of Will Chamberlain, and that's just because of Wilt was special because of how tall he was and how, like you said, he ran the floor, he did everything, and he did it at a high energy for a long time. So, I mean, shout out to him too. So,
I want to ask you this question. So, we talk about breakers in the hobby. I know you recently did a deal at the National with Backyard, right?
We'll talk about that next week. That's fine. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Some people thought certain things about that. I wanted to give you some time to speak to that in whatever way you wanted to, and just talk about breaking overall. Kind of your thoughts on breaking.
Breaking, man, breaking. I have my moments when I like breaking, but I feel like when a new product comes out, it might be fun because I like to watch things come out of the boxes. So maybe in the beginning I might break, but casually breaking, I'm not a casual breaker. I'm kind of a problem breaker. It's like if I feel like doing it, I'll do it. But I mean, shout out to the people who do well in it. I don't usually do well, so I usually don't.
There are people out here that do very well.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that do well. So because I historically don't do well, I don't usually do it. But to talk about backyard breaks, they came over to my table. We did a deal. It was the second time I did one with them. I told you I did that other trade with them. They talked about it on social media. Mm-hmm. It was funny because he was just like, man, I can post you on my page, man, and get you some followers. I was just like, man, it's not that deep. I'm good. But it was just really funny. So the second time after we did a deal the first time, we talked about it, and we did a deal. They filmed it. And I was like, all right, well, I'll do the deal, but you gotta dance and you gotta do it on my feed. What's funny is I know people have their own opinion about backyard breaks. I think people make mistakes. I think people are sensitive in this space. I think people should kind of fall back from their sensitivity. I think what they're doing is amazing. Like they're doing what most of us will not do. They won't. And what's funny is they're still taking the hate and they're still smiling and still doing it. That speaks volumes to me because I feel like, I couldn't take that criticism without cussing somebody out. They on my page. They was on my page when people were judging them on my page and was like, like laughing out loud, like whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like didn't cuss nobody out on my page, didn't say nothing. And I thought that, so to me, I say that to say that shout out to Backyard Breaks from one aspect of it, right? They're promoting a hobby. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I agree with everything because you'll never agree with everybody on everything because that's what makes us individuals. But I think that for what they're getting us brand awareness. They're getting us brand awareness. They're exciting. And guess what? They're appealing to the kids. They were at Nationals taking pictures with kids, doing tons of giveaways. I say, you can't decide on who your customers are, Raphael. They wanted that Kyle Trask Gold rookie. Good. All right, that's interesting. You say that. That's cool. I don't really care. But I understand they wanted the Kyle Trask. That's cool, right? That's fine. They wanted the Kyle Trask. That's one take on it, right? Mm-hmm. The other aspect of it, I mean, that's fine. That was the business of that. But I think that what we're talking about why people left negative comments on my page and why people have this negative perception about them. What they did was wrong. But I think what they've done since then is they've tried to get better at it. We talking about young kids, man. Like they probably in their mid-20s, right? And some of the biggest breakers in this industry were platinum breaks and they're in their 40s, 50s. So of course they've had a lot of time to get better at it. And even then, I mean, even then, Rose recently, I think platinum breaks had a situation where they talked, but they had a mix up. So I think I say that to say nobody's perfect in this space, regardless of what people may sit here and say. Nobody is perfect. So I think that we should just. I ain't gonna say like if you feel a certain type of way about them, I think you should say something to them. And if not, then let it go. I mean, I think all this like sensitive stuff that people like their opinion about things. I think they should they were at the Nationals. They had nowhere to hide. They had nowhere to run. You could have sat here and told them exactly how you felt.
Hey, I want to acknowledge something here because I think it's important to acknowledge. So we got Prizm Gawd and FD on, right? But we got Rome, the kid reporter, in the comments saying what's up. We're talking about the future of the hobby. I think this individual, Rome, I love him. He represents the hobby well. He's at shows all the time. If you talking about if you want to meet somebody, anybody in the comments, if you're at a show and you see Romo, you see his father, say what's up, and you will see a good steward of the hobby.
Yeah,
for sure. Speaking of the national, right? What are your thoughts on this year's national? How do you think it went? How did it compare to other nationals you've been to in the past?
I thought it was amazing, honestly. People talk, I've never been to Atlantic City before, so people already had this bad perception of how the Atlantic City was terrible. Now, I'm from Chicago, so it wasn't terrible. But I will say I didn't like how spaced out it was. I think the convenience of the Chicago National, being everything like being walking distance, helps out tremendously. I mean, I probably spent like $100 on Uber just going back and forth. I'm sorry, way more than that because I was spending probably $15 to get to the Atlantic City, and then probably another 10 or 15. Then I go to trade night. Then I go to dinners and stuff like that. So I probably spend like maybe $30 a day. So I probably spend a lot more than that. Probably close to $250 to $300 probably on just Uber. So I mean, I will say that's why I consider the fact that that's not really a good location probably, but I still had fun. I think it was a great show. It was really busy. I think it was definitely a resurgence, and I think it definitely showed us that the hobby was not dead. So, yeah, it was a lot of people there.
Just from the video and the pictures I saw, it was well attended.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like people like Whatnot, these guys, they spent a lot of money. I mean, like I said, even Backyard Breaks, man, they gave away T-shirts, headbands, all type of stuff just for brand awareness and just giving back. So it was pretty cool.
Have you ever thought about taking Culture Collision to other cities?
Yes. Initially, that was the initial goal was to be in 4 different states. It was going to be New York, Chicago, Atlanta, and LA. That was the initial game plan for Culture Collision. Not saying that it's going to be wiped out either, just so you know. I plan on doing 2 to 3 Culture Collisions next year if that helps.
All right. Very cool. Yeah, we got the Kid Reporter's father here. Thank you for being here, sir. I appreciate you. Appreciate you a lot.
We consider Texas too. We actually appreciate you, McCracken, for getting you 2 tables. We actually consider Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas is like a college town. They do the South by Southwest there. So we literally did consider doing a Culture Collision there. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to put that out. We really haven't figured out where we're going to put the next show at, but we got to have some conversations first, and we'll make some decisions soon.
Okay. It's been a pleasure having you here, sir. Been a pleasure talking to you. I've learned a lot, man. Just about your background and just how you think about some stuff. Sometimes you have a conversation with a person, you learn a lot more. It's been a pleasure having you here. Is there anything you want to tell people before you go, or anything else you want to talk about? Or?
Well, I guess I did want to elaborate a little bit more on the Backyard Break situation, but I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna hold it because I wasn't ready. I wasn't actually ready to talk about that today because I was like, I decided I wanted to talk about it on my channel. I was gonna talk about it then because I was actually going to invite them on my show. So hopefully, I'm pretty sure they'll go ahead and be on my show, and then I'll talk about the Backyard Break situation. And then the thing is, though, so for the people out there that have negative, I will say this, for the people that have negative things about people, like people will have their own perception about me, right? But I tell them I'm not hard to find. I'm at every show that's a popular show. If you feel some type of way about me, you can talk to me. I'm an open book. If you say you don't like me, I'll say, man, I appreciate you and I still love you. You know what I'm saying? But I might even ask you, like, why? Tell me why. You know what I'm saying? But if you tell me why, then I might say, okay, well, I get it. I might feel the same way.
Let me ask you this, right? So do you think that, but are most members of the hobby that I've come across, do you think they will come up to you and explain that? Do you think they would talk to you about that?
Nah. This not the type of most people in this industry are very non-confrontational. I have done, I've been on Clubhouse before. I felt Clubhouse was probably the most vocal that I felt like I heard a lot of people.
Okay.
We used to have a minorities in a hobby. I used to run a minorities in a hobby chat that I'm probably gonna end up bringing back soon. Just haven't had time. But bring that back to be able to talk about these questions. But I think most people, they won't have it. But I think in like when you can kind of throw your stone and run, because I've heard situations where people will talk in these clubhouses and say one thing and then go to another clubhouse and say the complete opposite, or say, hey, this is what they were talking about in this other one, and then they kind of bash it instead of like addressing it right then and there. You know, I'm this type of person, if I say something, man, if I feel a certain type of way, I'm gonna say how I feel. I've always kind of been that way. Like, even like you'll see me lash out a little bit on my Instagram. If I don't like something, oh man, I hate, like, why y'all gonna act like that? Like when they talked about backyard breaks on my page, I made it very clear my stance on that. I typed out a whole little thing about my perception of that. And I said, we should be embracing them. If you don't like it, tell them how you feel. You know what I mean? I'm sure that they would probably be receptive to it and perceptive to it. Like, you know, like, oh man, I'm sorry. You know, we made a mistake. We trying to get better. I think we should all be trying to get better at the end of the day. Like, I made several mistakes in this industry, but I think if you hold me accountable for the things I did in my past, you might miss the fact that I might have grew a little bit for the future. You might miss some things. So I think that we can't hold on. It can't be one of those. I feel like people in this industry treat you like ex-girlfriends. It's like, it's crazy. But I appreciate the Prizms and things. Yes, good luck on the next Coach Collision, because you better be there, because if not, you're going to miss out on this great one. It's going to be big. It's going to be big.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great show. I mean, I haven't had a chance to come to one of your shows.
Yeah.
I've always heard good feedback, comments. I've talked to several people who have been there. They think highly of what you do, the organization that you put out, as far as when they enter the show, how it looks, how it feels. The wayfinders, they know where they're at in the show. How you bring a kind of a diverse feel to the show.
Yeah.
Some people come in who go to other shows. They feel like Culture Collision speaks more to them than some other shows that they go to.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people, you know, unfortunately I haven't been able to enjoy it as much, but I heard a lot of good positive things, man. Honestly, I'm thankful, bro. Like, I cannot take credit for 100, like, yeah, it's my ideas, right? But I always tell people all the time, we are the hobby, right? Because at the end of the day, we are the people that come together and bring it together and make it make sense. I have a lot of ideas, you know, but I feel like it's up to us to implement them and put them into action. So I feel like, you know, that I'm blessed to that regard of people like perceiving like my energy, right? Like put it like my idea. It's like, I feel like if I did my job, then people understand. You know, I had a conversation with a dude this past week, and I'm sorry I'm still talking.
No, but I want you to. You keep going.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with somebody at the last local show yesterday. We have a local show every 2 weeks at the Marietta shop. And one guy told me, man, like, I understand exactly what you're trying to do. I understand the energy you're trying to put out there. Like, I told him I was trying to reach out to pop culture. Like, I'm trying to get pop culture to be a lot more involved. You're going to see that happen at this next culture collision. I promise you. You're going to see a lot more things you've never seen at this next culture collision. We want to like change the game, and I want to create some elements that you guys have been missing, and maybe have not even known that you've been missing. So, you know, I just really want to like keep pushing the envelope, because honestly, you see a lot of things change even at the Nationals. So it's a lot of influence that we're kind of putting out there that people are starting to pay attention to. But I'm thankful at the end of the day. I'm glad everybody enjoys Culture Collision. I'm glad people see it as something that, you know, to look forward to. And I'm glad that people think you can compete with the Nationals. And I'm thankful for that. Like, at the end of the day, all I do is put the energy out there and put the work in, and it's just the results of that. So I'm happy.
Very good. We got Love What You Collect here. Said love the convo tonight.
Thank you. Love you too. Thank you. That's my girl.
It's good stuff. Erica's in the house. And Monty says, roll with FT, come to Culture Collision.
Yeah, you better be there, man. You can't miss out on this one, man. You can't miss out on this one.
Yeah, it sounds like it's about to be a great event.
Yeah, I haven't announced anything yet, honestly, and it's reason behind it. I told myself I usually, if you ever notice with me with any Culture Collision, I say a few things and I kind of ghost a little bit, and then I just say, "Oh, okay, this is what I'm gonna do."
How many total tables are you looking at? Can you say that information?
Oh, 600.
Okay, 600 tables.
Yeah, maybe 600 tables. Yep, 600 tables. Still gonna have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. That won't change. So it'll be a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. The first element we're adding that's new is Card Star Weekend. We're actually going to have a first ever Card Star. I'm sorry, to clarify, it'll be the first ever All-Star game for cards. And it's going to be at OTE's basketball stadium.
Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna create it. We're gonna create some stuff that y'all have never seen. So it's gonna be dope.
Very nice.
You don't want to miss this one, man. That's all I'm saying.
Very nice. Well, I've enjoyed having you here, sir. I'd like to have you on more often.
Anytime.
It's been a great conversation. I've learned a lot about you. It's been great, man.
Oh, of course, man. I appreciate
it's good to get two young kids from Chicago together.
That's right.
And talk about the hobby. That is real cool. It's real. Hey, are you coming? Are you going to any California shows coming up?
Yeah, I'll be at Del Mar show and also be at the Burbank show at the end of the month.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be there. I need to get out to that San Francisco show. I need to
like the Bay Area Dion show and all that.
I think so. I need to get out to that show.
Those are good shows, man. I went to one. Those are good shows.
Yeah, I know. I need to get out there, man. It's honestly, it's that flight, man. That flight is exhausting, but I mean, like, I hate when I gotta go there. Like, I gotta go to Vegas. I gotta go to I'm probably gonna be going to Vegas in California probably 6 or 7 times within this next couple months.
Yeah, there's a lot coming up.
Yeah, it's a lot coming up. So, but I will say this: it's probably gonna be my last year traveling as much as I have been traveling, and I'm gonna be focusing more on the business of the hobby come next year. So that's really what I want to focus on. Which is why we're going to be doing multiple culture collisions and why we're going to be doing some other things. So,
all right.
All
well,
right.
If there's anything that I can do to ever work with you, help you do something, I could brainstorm with you on something. I know you do a great job of what you do, but I love to work with you in any way. It'd be cool.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it, man. I really had fun talking with you, man, and I appreciate you having me on this platform. I thank you for your platform, man, and thank you guys for watching and listening, and hopefully you gain something from it.
Well, some questions I ask you, I want you to give what you think. I invite people on, and I don't like to shape people's answers on stuff, and then give people an avenue to directly talk about something. Again, like what we're talking about, like, I'm not the kind of person, man, to be alluding to something or to be in someone's comments, or that's just not me.
Yeah.
Even in my content, like, I don't run down what other people are doing in a hobby. When we first started the channel, people would ask me, well, why don't you do that? That's not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I bring people on to talk about the hobby. People can learn more about them. Yeah. I can learn more about them. I want to also start the channel to give the voice and kind of the ideas of a kid from the South Side of Chicago that got involved in the hobby. I didn't see a lot of that. That was missed for me. I saw other people's perspectives. So I decided, like we talked about earlier, I can't sit around and say, well, I don't see my perspective. I just got to get up and start showing my perspective on how I look at cards, how I analyze things, what players do I get excited about and why. Because we all got a story on why we do what we do. So why not just start talking about it?
Man, that's crazy. You're absolutely right, bro. I feel like I keep talking about this, but this is crazy. Like when you go to these card shows and you see kids with their fathers coming to card shows, you do not see that in the African-American community as much as we probably should. And that's probably one of the number one reasons why you don't see a lot of Black people in the card industry. Like, I didn't grow up.
My father got me involved in what I'm doing today. I
never got that. My cousin had cards. I found his cards, and from there the love came from sports, and that was it. But I don't want to keep talking. I got you. You know what I'm saying? I can keep talking for days, man. But I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And like I said, I'll hit you up, and we'll have you back on. I'd probably like to have you on way before your show, but maybe a couple of times. We're talking about August. Your show's in January.
Yeah, January time.
But I'd like to be able to help promote it or anything else I can do to bring attention to the show, have you talk about other nuances that you maybe not be able to talk about today. I'm all about that. I do the same thing for shows out here in California. I'd like to throw some love to Atlanta.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, brother.
What we got? Backyard breaks, they whack though. All I feel you, man. If you don't like them, man, don't support them, man. But at the same time, though, they got a big platform, man. And I think if you can help them learn to become better, maybe you'll break with them. You know, maybe you'll like them in the future. But right now, you know, they're young kids, man. Let them have fun.
True. Prizm Gawd, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, man.
All right.
You have a good night.
You too. Good night.
Yes. Bye-bye.